Thanks for being here tonight. I'm very excited to welcome our next guest to the Axios stage to discuss what's next for critical minerals, defense, and more. She's the brand new CEO of USA Rare Earth, Barbara Humpton.
Well, great to be with you.
Thanks for being here. We are going to have to do a bit of a lightning round based on the clock. So let's get started here. Jared earlier mentioned Trump has rewritten the playbook on critical minerals. Agree or disagree?
Agree.
Why?
First of all, we're taking this bull by the horns. China chose to dominate this sector 30 years ago, and now we are completely dependent. Now is the time to take this back. I've said to everyone outside of China who's been working in this market, they're really gritty, really scrappy, because they've had to be that way to survive. And folks have been competing against each other. And my comment to them is, if we took just 20% of the market that China has been satisfying, all of us would grow. Let's work together.
So to what degree does China have leverage over the U.S., given its resource dominance, given its processing
This is critical.
dominance? And then how does Beijing weaponize that? How they could effectively brick our systems.
You've seen this twice already this year. In April, China said, hey, I'm going to withhold the critical rare earths, heavy rare earths, and magnets from the United States, and it took real diplomacy and dialogue to get that back on track. In October, it happened again. Now the whole world is threatened. Do you understand what happens if we don't have access to those materials? Permanent magnets and critical minerals are in nearly every aspect of our economy, and we don't have stockpiles. Now is the time to act.
Can the U.S., or maybe should the U.S., entirely cut China out of its rare earth supply? And if that's wise, when could that happen?
I think it will take time to repair this. I know that we will be doing business with China for some time to come. And I'll tell you about my experience at USA Rare Earth. This is exactly what we're trying to tackle. USA Rare Earth has the mining rights to the richest deposit of heavy rare earths in North America, according to the USGS. Round Top in Texas. Here we will find the minerals we need. It wasn't affordable to mine those minerals at a time when China was flooding the market with cheap goods. But we can get that going. Meanwhile, we can process it. We have scientists in Colorado who have the technology needed in order to process and precipitate the minerals that we need. We made an investment just this year, announced in October, in less common metals, the only scaled metal maker outside of China producing samarium and samarium cobalt, metal and alloy, and the strip cast going into magnet making. And of course, this team, USA Rare Earth, is also standing up magnet making. We will be developing this for years, and in our early interaction with customers, one of the things they've asked us to do is keep their relationship with us under NDA. Because in the meantime, they are going to need to be able to keep the supplies coming from China, but they're beginning to look for alternative sources, building safety stocks. And so what we're doing is prioritizing customers in defense, medicine, energy, and ultimately every aspect of our economy will need access to these products.
So every military service in the U.S. is dependent on Chinese resources.
Our Air Force turns into paperweights without the magnets that support the rotating equipment inside those vehicles.
So how quickly can the Pentagon wean itself off, or is that dependent on companies like yours and
This is a private sector deal. By the way, if you look at the total market opportunity for permanent magnets and these critical rare earths, aerospace and defense is about 5 to 7% of the market demand. The U.S. government alone will not be able to tip this market. And that's why I've been so focused this year on something we've been calling industrial patriotism. Do business people here in the U.S. understand how important it is that they create the demand signal? Now, we've seen this in the energy space, right? The people who are building the data centers have banded together and created a demand signal for power. That same thing needs to happen in the demand for permanent magnets.
We were talking backstage, you're 2 to 3 months into this new gig as the chief executive. You're talking about kind of like the slip road to get onto a highway, right?
Yeah, that's right.
What are you doing on that slip road right now? And then where do you hope to steer the company in the next year, 2 years?
Week 1, I met the magnet makers. Week 2, I met the metal makers. Week 3, I met policy makers. Week 4, I met the money makers. I went to visit investors.
Which one's more important?
Week 5, what did I do week 5? Week 5, we had a board meeting. Week 6 was to Kuala Lumpur to meet the marketplace overall. All of the leaders outside of China supporting this tiny but essential marketplace. Just yesterday, we announced that the team has actually accelerated our plan for Round Top Mountain. This was going to be a 2030 or later venture. And the question that we asked the team was, what would it take to be able to start processing at Round Top before the end of 2028? And they came to us with a solution, and we've just announced that.
What does that solution look like? To me, an outsider, that just seems like you kind of cut some stuff out in the middle, and you're like, oh, there are 2 years.
Yeah, you cannot bypass the critical steps in the science and the permitting, et cetera. But what you can do is you've got plans, a preliminary feasibility study, that's ongoing. And typically you would wait till after that's done to begin piloting. What if you actually started in the lab you already have in Colorado and start to actually do the science, the chemistry that will demonstrate the ability to produce the minerals at the scale needed? That we're doing in parallel. And then that allows us to bring in then what will be the definitive feasibility study and to be ready to begin operations.
So Round Top is gallium, beryllium, a bunch of other things maybe. Those are all widely used in defense, radars, electronic warfare, lightweight precision aerospace components. What happens if you get this wrong?
This won't be wrong. The science is already done. The analysis is already done. The minerals are there waiting for us to proceed. What's interesting is if you look at this just as a supply chain, you might be distracted. You'd say, well, I need these heavy rare earths in order to make magnets in the future. What the team had been focused on was exactly that. What they hadn't realized is that same source, that same deposit will yield hafnium. Hafnium is absolutely critical in nuclear energy. So by recognizing other products that can go into other supply chains, we recognize we've got a link in a value chain. Now, what about processing? The team had been preparing to process just from Round Top. What if we could take other third-party concentrates, mixed rare earth concentrates, and precipitate out product there? Well, that whole processing link in the supply chain can become a value link as well. By the way, metal making, yes, we'll make magnets, but we also make the metals that are needed elsewhere. Our whole plan here is not to be exclusive. This is not verticalization to monopolize. This is investment in order to scale.
The Defense Department this summer was slated to become the biggest shareholder in MP Materials, and the Office of Strategic Capital quickly followed up. Where do you think public-private partnerships go? Are you having similar conversations with the Pentagon? Where do we go from here?
I think public-private partnership is valuable. What I also think is valuable is the private sector, things like JP Morgan stepping in with the critical funds that are going to help to rebuild our critical infrastructure, the industries that are so vital to our economy. If we think about the U.S. as a shareholder, these are national assets, and the American people should benefit from that. And there's a great commercial opportunity for investors as well. So I'm bullish on where this goes.
Have you talked to the Pentagon about that?
I will neither confirm nor deny.
Okay. I get that a lot. Just today, last question, in the Wall Street Journal, there was a report about a new mineral deposit found in Utah.
Yes.
Kind of a surprise. Do you foresee those same sort of surprises moving forward? Like, is the U.S. tapped out?
Oh, the U.S. is nowhere near tapped out. And the fact is that for too long, we just said, we'll outsource all of this to China. Who knows what's in that ionic clay in Utah? But I guarantee you we will find value there. And this value chain will continue to grow.
Barbara, that's the last word.
Colin, thank you.